Today, China is repeatedly celebrated for being one of the world's biggest and fastest growing economies. But that's not what I'm interested in. I'm half German, half Singaporean Chinese, a cross-cultural product of an increasingly globalized world. This is a personal passage to explore my own sense of Chinese identity. But by doing so, I also hope to discover how China has managed to remain one of the world's longest continuous cultures. The rural county of Yongding sits in the southwest of Fujian province. 99% of the people here are Hakka, one of China's many distinct cultural groups, one which my late maternal grandmother always hoped I would explore more of. Yongding is famously known as the Valley of the Tulou, with walls made from mud mixed with brown sugar and sticky rice. The architecture of these multi-family homes are proud symbols of Hakka identity.
这个土楼现在是世界文化遗产。我们客家哪里人？我们的祖先在河南从北方迁移到这边来了，到这里呢叫生基克地，攀个妻妇叫祭祖而居，一个家族啊聚在一起，外面是土木，里面是砖木，不怕地震，不怕台风，不火攻，很好一个土楼。
My passage takes me south to Zhongshan in Guangdong province. Zhongshan claims some fame as the birthplace of Sun Zhongshan, also called as Sun Yat-sen, a leader of modern China in the early 20th century who developed the political philosophy known as the three principles of the people: nationalism, democracy, and the people's livelihood. Today, visitors flock to his former home, now Memorial Park, particularly popular with overseas Chinese returning to their roots. I set off to Chufu in Shandong province, inspired to explore more about how filial piety and family values shape a sense of Chinese identity. The person most famous for establishing filial piety as the cornerstone of culture is none other than Confucius. Though he died well over 2,000 years ago, the legacy of Confucius continues larger than life, drawing lots of visitors daily to Chufu's protected heritage sites like the Confucius Temple. The legacy of Confucius has been carried forward in large part by his own family, the Kongs. Over centuries, his descendants added more and more passages to their elaborate mansion. Courtyards designed for studying his teachings and cultivating the arts were apparently also used to develop a long line of food recipes. In Shanghai, I continue to explore treasure troves of tradition that lie beneath the modern facade of China's largest city. From this cosmopolitan heyday came a unique sense of style, expressed in China's most famous fashion statement, the qipao. Originally a much larger gown from Manchuria, it was in Shanghai that the qipao developed into the modern form we know today. First qipao coming up. And for me, the qipao is here to stay as the quintessential statement of China's identity and fashion. Home to perhaps the world's longest continuous culture, China has a vast artistic landscape, a cradle of performing arts that dates back centuries. It's a passage through sight and sound into the creative soul of China. The traditional garden setting here sets the perfect stage for the revival of a Kunshu opera performance from the Ming Dynasty, Peony Pavilion. Peony Pavilion is a classic love story written in 1598 by Tang Xianzu, known as the Shakespeare of China. In fact, it was created about the same time as Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Like its Western counterpart, it continues to resonate with universal themes like love and relationships. I manage a quick dash south to Wuyan in Jiangxi province. I've come here tracking down a troupe of performers with an unbroken line to a 3,000-year-old practice, of a deeply ritualistic art form called Nuowu opera. Nuowu opera is considered one of the last remaining folk art treasures of China. Through sheer vigilance, generations of troops from this village have managed to preserve many of the same costumes for hundreds of years. It's by witnessing this kind of commitment to an art form sustained over countless generations that I begin to understand how it is China as a whole manages to remain the longest continuous culture alive today. My passage takes me next to Xi'an, one of the 4 great ancient capitals of China. It was also the starting point of the Silk Road, one of the most important trading routes connecting China, Central Asia, and Europe. It's here that I get the chance to catch up again with Tan Dun as he prepares for a concert he calls the Sound Map of the Silk Road to celebrate heritage renovations done to parts of Xi'an's city wall. Tan Dun's forte is bridging cultures through music. Here in the middle of Xi'an's fortified walled city, Tan Dun's assembled instruments and musicians that mark both the geographical and historical route of the Silk Road. It's like a bit of a fusion where you've got so many interesting cultures from the East and then somehow fusing it with classical symphonies.
The purpose of this huge stage is let everybody equally had an opportunity to contact, but meanwhile to establish yourself very confidently. Hey, this is me. Let's cheer.
Much of China's cultural identity is synonymous with the things it has created, icons it has shared with the world over many centuries. On this passage, I explore some of China's most iconic products and how they express the cultures that cultivated them. What better way to begin this passage than right in the heart of China's Rice Bowl? This is Yunyang County in the southeastern part of Yunnan province. If there's any place that deserves its status as a UNESCO World Cultural and Natural Heritage Site, this is most definitely one of them. These monumental terraced rice fields are icons, cultivated over countless generations by Yunnan's famous ethnic minority groups, the Hani and the Yi.
It's about 1,850 meters above sea level. It is suitable to grow rice here.
That just looks so heavenly. Look at that.
It looks like a ladder to the heaven.
The Hani have cultivated this area for more than 2,000 years. From one generation to the next, they have continued an unbroken tradition of sculpting the fertile soil of these mountain slopes into natural works of art. The Hani have cultivated a truly special relationship with their geography. They treasure it, they respect it, and their culture has grown organically with the landscape. By doing so, they have created one of China's proudest cultural icons. More than the rice, it is land itself. My journey leads me next to the ancient capital of Hangzhou. The gorgeous setting of Hangzhou's West Lake is where I kick off this leg of the journey to explore another commodity that's become a cultural icon of China. Longjing's tea culture commands a special place. It dates back 1,500 years and is steeped in imperial legends. A famous one involves an emperor scaling its highest peaks to discover the best tea leaves. From Song Dynasty ceremony, I'm being treated to marks a highly sophisticated presentation of tea culture, with precise steps that enhance the tranquility of the experience. Suzhou sits in the southeast of Jiangsu province, right next to Shanghai municipality. But for centuries, Suzhou was synonymous with one of the most symbolic and sophisticated products of China. Starting in the Tang Dynasty in the 7th century, Suzhou's silk industry grew from strength to strength. By the time of the Ming and Qing dynasties, it stood proud as the center of the highest grade silk production in China, if not the world. For the final stretch of this journey, I head to Shanghai to explore how today China is developing modern icons that best express its cultural identity in the 21st century. Constantly connected to the time-honored practices of the past, a culture that reinvents and regenerates with the world around it. Its global trading gateways like Shanghai have equipped the mainland's first free trade zone with facilities for fine art to play an important part in cultural exchanges.
I'm Denise Keller, and this is my passage to China.
China.
China. China.